speech is a perception of TED that I've had, that TED is for people who have a message that needs to be heard. And I so admire that confidence because despite a career standing in front of people, I've never really thought about myself or a message that had to be heard. But I do want to thank the students, Dina and Dennis and Lane Graciano, for having the confidence that you do have something to say. The idea I kept coming back to is one about the personal encounters that build the stories of our lives. Some can have significant impact, some can be signposts that we don't even recognize. I will first share a story that set me on this line of thinking. It is part of the autobiographical account of the founder of the Acumen Fund, Jacqueline Novogratz. She relates what would seem like a fabricated incident. As a young girl, she was given a blue sweater. It had the design with zebras on the front and Mount Kilimanjaro in the background, appropriate perhaps for a mirror. As she grew and the shape of her body changed, she continued to wear that sweater. Until one day, in grade 9, her nemesis shouted across the hallway, "Hey, Jackie, boys don't need to go to the mountains to ski. They can ski on the contours of your sweater." Humiliated, devastated, she went home, and she and her mother ceremoniously dumped the sweater into the Goodwill box. Fast forward 10 years, a career change from Wall Street, where she found no meaning, to a new World Bank job, to helping others in Africa. She goes out running in Kigali, Rwanda. In front of her is a small boy with a blue sweater. She runs up, looks at the tag, and yes, it is her blue sweater. That would be a fairly remarkable moment for any of us. It would certainly speak to me if I just decided to make a life change and move a significant move. I'm not sure all our ways of becoming are as well signposted. But the metaphor also works as one that shows us how certain moments can define us, but also highlight the process by which we come to recognize and act and make ourselves open to change. For all of us, this is an endless process of experiencing, recognizing, acting as we gain insights into ourselves. In my own life, I'm often reminded of an evening when at 12 or 13, I had finished watching a TV show. The Patty Duke Show. I suspect not many in this room know it. It's about two cousins who are identical but very different. There's Kathy, who's lived most anywhere, from Zanzibar to Berkeley Square, but Patty's only seen the sights a girl can see from Brooklyn Heights. What a crazy pair. You get the idea. In this episode, Patty from Brooklyn Heights and her cousin Kathy, constant rivals, are shown in their element, as Patty is consumed by friends, social options, spending time with her boyfriend, and is just bothered by the expectations of life. Kathy is always off doing good. She helps a neighbor, helps in the kitchen, helps someone at school, and volunteers at the food bank. With all the indignation that a 12-year-old can muster, I joined my family in the living room and announced that I had just seen the most terrible TV show. I proceeded to explain why Kathy was the most ridiculous character. No one could be that way, and she certainly missed out on having fun in life. Not sure of the exact extent of my reasoning, but I do remember my father, with a kind of patient nonchalance, pondered my remarks and then said, "It would seem to me that you could use a little more Kathy in your own approach." I'm sure he meant nothing more than when presented with an image of two TV characters, he fundamentally thought the whole show was stupid. And I did not leave the conversation with any deep injury to my sense of being a person of importance. But the moment stayed with me long enough to even now, to know that it was a defining remark. I'm sure I did not change overnight, but that comment gave me permission to be someone different. And when listening to the stories of others' people, I'm always interested in the encounters that give us insight into our lives, that push us beyond present parameters. Often these moments can make us feel more vulnerable or connect to something larger than ourselves, or in the words of Star Trek, boldly go where no man has gone. But I really don't see them as epiphanies, but the stuff of everyday life. More recently, my perspective in service learning shifted when I was at the GIN conference in Doha. This was 7 years ago, and I was there with about 10 or 12 students. We had traveled to this conference not knowing much about it, and we heard two speakers, Ryan Herlock and Austin Goodwin. They were in their teens. Already, they were well established in the NGO world. Ryan spoke about water. Austin talked about AIDS. These were serious global issues that had ignited them to action when they were very young. Both of them spoke of that moment when they learned something is wrong and something needs to be done about it. I know I was still holding on to some notion that real effective action only happened after you'd finished your formal education. I realized how wrong I was, and I'm grateful for the team of students who helped me trust my instincts. If you remember The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams, there's that wonderful moment when the skin horse replies. It doesn't happen all at once. You become. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, have sharp edges, or have to be carefully kept. In 1979, my cousin died in a car crash, a plane crash. We had been together, ski bums in Colorado. We were both in our early 20s, full of that inquisitive restlessness that is so much part of growing up. On his desk, a letter was found. He'd started to write to me, and he had written that quotation from The Velveteen Rabbit. At the time, I actually had to go out and buy a copy of The Velveteen Rabbit. It wasn't familiar to me. The letter is somewhere, but the message, not from the book, but from him, remains a defining moment. I knew he never wanted me to break easily. Our life will be framed by many coincidences, people of importance, people of influence, and choices. Some of these encounters will have the amazement of the blue sweater moment. Others are much less dramatic. What I invite the audience to do, you need a partner for this is interactive, is I'd like you to share with a neighbor something that helped define you. Maybe it's that hidden talent you haven't yet uncovered. Maybe it's the classic you've read. Maybe it's the stories, maybe it's a story where the details have shifted. Or maybe it's a mountain ascent. But take a minute right now, we have the time built in, to just share that with a neighbor, because I think it's part of what defines you and it's part of what TED is about, is taking the ideas inside you. Thank you.